Yashoda Nandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanacha Yamuna Tira Vanacha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Gopi Janaballabha Girivarada Gopi Janaballabha Girivarada Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanacha Yamuna Tira Vanacha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Jaya Radha Madhava Janaballabha Girivarada Gopi Janaballabha Girivarada Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanacha Yamuna Tira Vanacha Jaya Radha Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Now, what's your name? And you're playing Mridanga very nicely. Hari Bol, everybody. And who was singing? You? Earlier? Very nice. The whole hour you were singing? Very beautiful. Well, thank them very much. Okay. This is the whole point of the Hare Krishna movement, is chanting Hare Krishna. Right? So it's called the Hare Krishna movement. We're trying to move the Hare Krishna all over the universe. Om Jnana Timirandasya Ganagana Shalakaya Chaksuramilitanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisesha Sunyavari Paschatya Desatarane Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gaura Tvashe Namo. That verse is about Lord Chaitanya. We can talk about him as that's the main topic. He's giving freely Krishna Prema, or love for Godhead, which is the topmost goal of human life, freely. Special feature of this age. This age, we know from the general news, is full of trouble, but there's one very great thing, and that's just chanting the holy name of Krishna. And then Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he's the origin of everything. He's not an incarnation, like some people think. And Lord Chaitanya is also not an incarnation, he's fully Krishna. There are many incarnations, unlimited, we can't know all, we know just some of the main ones. But, so, Vanchakalpa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha. I offer respects to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are just like desire trees and fulfill the desires of everyone. So I have to apologize, I don't speak sprechen nicht Deutsch. I took some Deutsch classes when I was in primary school, millions of years ago. Never met a German-speaking person, so I didn't practice and didn't remember anything. It's actually a beautiful language, and it is a source of English language. So I find a lot of Germans speak better English than me. But I just thought we'd talk about Lord Chaitanya and his movement. Lord Chaitanya appeared, Krishna appeared 5,000 years ago, and he exhibited many spectacular pastimes and killing spectacular demons, like much more than any superhero ever considered, or any super demon that they make up in the movies, but without any effort, without having to become powerful or anything. Even as a baby, he could take care of the troublemakers. That's his mission always, to help the devotees and annihilate the miscreants or the demons who are against spiritual progress, against anything religious. Now it's very common. The demons are more so-called philosophical, atheistical philosophers. They're not, big violent, murderous demons or anything like that. But they're destroying the moral culture of the people with different philosophies, communism, and nowadays they don't even call it anything but just all kinds of things to make people not understand who they really are. We're not these bodies. That's becoming a big mix-up. But we're spiritual persons. We're not, not that I don't like, I'm in this body, people think it's a man body, but I feel like a dog, so I identify as a dog, or a monkey, or a woman, or whatever. It's completely can't happen. But next life it can. We're going to get the body that, what we want. So we should be looking for liberation, for spiritual liberation. So after Krishna's appearance, then Kali Yuga started, the age of quarrel and distress, current age, 5,000 years ago. And it was progressing, so Lord Buddha had to come, and he promoted ahimsa, nonviolence, good behavior, but not godly, not an idea of the supreme God or anything like that. And he got a lot of people to give up their violent types of activity of animal slaughter, because they were, in the name of religious injunctions, they were killing too many animals. But then, that was like 3,000 years, Lord Jesus came and, kind of uplifted another class of people. Muhammad, others come in India, many, different places, different types of great teachers come. And 500 years ago, Lord Chaitanya came. So his birth was very special. Nobody understood who he was. Right in the beginning they did, but then by his mystic power, he covered over, the people, so they forgot who he was. They just thought he was a naughty, and he didn't act like a devotee at first. He didn't act like an avatar. He's called a covered incarnation. So many thought there's no incarnation in this age, because he didn't come as a typical incarnation that comes with weapons and, destroying the armies of demons. He just came as acting like a devotee to teach us, especially to teach the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I meant to mention, at the moment it just started, as far as I know, there's some sort of all religious gathering. Some devotees are there, right? And all the different religions of Germany are coming, the leaders. And tonight, after everybody presents whatever they present, and their books or their, whatever they're teaching, then they have the music of all the different religions. But it starts at 8 o'clock, and devotees will be there. So that will be very interesting, because that is basically the tradition of every religion, is music and dance. And that have been forgotten in many, many cases. They've become very, serious. In the Christian church I used to go, and they would sing, and I didn't like it. It was very boring. But when I think back, they had some good songs, but somehow I didn't like the presentation, the type of music. Now modern churches, they use rock and roll and all kinds of things, and you get a lot of people. There's even a guy in New York, he's called the Kirtan Rabbi. Anybody heard of him? He wears a kurta, plays a harmonium, and he sings Hasidic Jewish songs. And a lot of young people, and they're dancing, and they go, oh, Kirtan Rabbi is ecstatic. And they've got a lot of young people coming back to the Judaism who had rejected it because it dried up. So Lord Chaitanya, he didn't reveal himself. He was very scholarly. He was the greatest scholar and logician of the time. No one could defeat him in any kind of argument. But he went to Gaya, as a holy place of India, where the Hindu sons go to worship and honor their father, their deceased father. So while he was there, he met spiritual master, and he got initiated into chanting the holy name of the Lord, and completely changed. And the teacher told him, forget all this study, you're not qualified, just chant the holy name of God, which is the basic essence of, all religions. Even Islam, they have lots of songs, and Judaism has so many songs, Christianity, Buddhism, they chant the name of Buddha. Not all of them anymore, but many. They chant in China, Nam Amitabha, Nam. They sit for hours. And they come early in the morning to the Buddhist temple and they chant. Japan also, not so many, but they do. And so he just started chanting, and he just went wild with that, chanting and dancing and ecstatic, and the devotees were very happy. And then later he was traveling, and he met these, we call Mayavadis, sannyasis. Are very, very strict followers of principles, and they just study. They sit and they study so-called Vedanta. And he was singing and dancing with the other devotees, and these big sannyasis, there were many, it's in Varanasi, India, and it's the headquarters. They were criticizing him. He's a babuka, they call him, crazy person. And he's just, why is he a sannyasi? And he's just associating with these crazy people that just sing and dance all the time. And they don't know that that's the activity of the spiritual world. There's a verse in Goloka Prema Harinama Sankirtan. Goloka comes directly from Goloka, from the origin planet of Krishna. It's Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And so he didn't associate with them. He wouldn't even eat with them. And then, but somehow an arrangement was made by him that they came together, and he went to their place, not their place, but another house where they all were gathered. And he took a very humble position. He sat down and washed his feet in India outside. And he sat down right practically in the foot washing area. But then he emitted some effulgence, very bright. So they saw that and they thought he must be God. They think every sannyasi is God. You can, they don't know what is one supreme God. So they asked him, please come in the front. So and then they were asking him, why you're, you obviously so powerful and wonderful, and why are you, associating with all these crazy people when you're just singing and dancing all the time? Doesn't make any sense. So he told him how he'd met his spiritual master, and he told him, I don't know if they put that verse up, I asked, you can repeat, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. So that means the holy name, the holy name, the holy name. It's the only way. One, certainly, only, like that. Eva Kevalam. And then Kaloa Nasteva. Kaloa means this age of Kali. Kaloa Nashteva. Nothing, no other way. Kaloa Nashteva, not another way. Kaloa Nashteva. Gatir Anyatat. to reach the highest goal. So repeat that. Kalonashteva, Kalonashteva, Nashteva Nashteva, Gatir Anyata. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. Kalonashteva, Nashteva, Nashteva, Gatir Anyata. And then he proceeded to speak. And he spoke so brilliantly about chanting, but also he defeated their godless philosophy perfectly and explained everything about their own teachings way beyond anything they'd ever imagined. So they all became like bewildered and admired him unlimitedly. So some of them took to following him. Then he left that place. But when he left, by the time he left, everybody was chanting. Then his friends were feeling much better. So that's the idea. And he traveled around India. First he lived in Jagannath Puri, which is a famous place in India, and many devotees go there, many tourists go there also, and famous temple. And then he left and he traveled in South India. He took only one servant with him, and he visited so many temples. I think 6 years he traveled around by walking, and every temple he would go, he would sing and dance for hours, and everybody would be amazed at this ecstatic, exhibition of dance. He was so graceful and beautiful, and they would start singing and dancing Hare Krishna and go back to their village, and they would still be singing and dancing, and then others would take it up, and gradually all over South India people were chanting. He spread the holy name, and that's still going on. We've been doing it all over the world. Devotees in Germany have been going out chanting and dancing for how many years? 50 years, and all over the world. And it's described by Prabhupada's writing that this will spread all over the universe. And then at the time that was, 1976 or something, and he said, you might ask, how can it spread all over the universe? He said, the same way it spread all over the world in 10 years. One man in New York City getting a few, ragtag, hippies or whatever they were, to go and sit in the park with them and chant. And now in 10 years it had spread all over the world, 100 temples. And devotees chanting on the streets of every city in the world for many, many hours it used to be, because we were all young. I was talking to Bhakti Bhushan Swami, everybody was young. Many teenagers joined, I was 24 when I joined, I was old, So many of the devotees that were there, they were still in their early, 20 years old, or even 17, 18, and they dedicated life already. And we're chanting for many hours every day, all over America, all over Europe, especially those two places. And then it spread to India and South America, and then much later to Russia and the Middle East, and Eastern Europe. And it's still going on, spreading more and more here in every town and village. But there's a long way to go. But the holy name is quite known. People know Hare Krishna. And we can't really estimate the power. It's Krishna. Devotees are chanting in China, they're chanting in Africa, they're chanting in Japan, and Thailand, all these places, Buddhist countries, Muslim countries, so-called Christian countries, everywhere. And the chanting has so much power. The proof is in the pudding, Prabhupada said, or George Harrison maybe said that. Devotees are giving up all sinful activities, meat eating, gambling, intoxication, illicit sex, everything, and becoming very, very happy. Freedom, these are called freedom, freedom from all these crazy things. I know one devotee in London, he distributes many books, and I watched him one day. He'd hand the book and say, these are books about freedom. And people were naturally attracted. Then he'd say, freedom from birth, death, disease, and old age. And they'd go, oh, that sounds pretty good. Because that is our big problem, that's our problem. We think there's so many problems, but the real problem is birth. What is the main cause of death? Right? If you look in the list, they would say, I think, heart attacks, right? And cancer, and I don't know what else. It goes down the list. I remember when it was so-called COVID, that was like number 20 or something. It's quite down, but cancer, heart attacks. But that's not the cause of death. The cause is birth. If you take birth, according to Bhagavad Gita, you will surely die. Can't avoid it. And if you die, you're going to take birth again. So Krishna is saying, don't get too excited about it. It's a challenge, but we have to understand, we're not the body. We want to change bodies, but we don't want to have a different material body. We understand we're in the body. The body doesn't die, it's dead, it's never alive. It's just like these machines. It's dead matter, but if you put the battery and turn on the switch, then something happens. It exhibits symptoms of life, Wow. It has automatic, what do they call it? Artificial intelligence. Now I think that's even on the phone, some kind of AI, and you can tell it, draw me a picture of a beautiful somebody and it'll do it. Write me a book about something. So, but it's not real intelligence, not real life. You can turn it off also. And somebody had to put all this information in. But the body is like that. We're living in the body, but the soul is so powerful that even in the body of an elephant or a whale, or a big redwood tree that's big enough that they can put a highway through it and it's still alive. Cars are driving through in two directions. And I've been there, you can't see the top of these trees. And they're so huge and they're thousands of years old. But it's one soul in there making that grow. And an ant also, the soul, according to some karma with different bodies. Even smaller, whatever bit me, and then it was carrying something even more nasty, right? Like I had malaria one time. I happened to be in Germany when it hit. It was hitting me in Africa, but I didn't realize what it was. I got to Germany and fell in a coma in Wiesbaden. So I was fortunate. They had good doctors, German doctors, and they kept me going. But that's just, some microscopic thing. The mosquito's not very big, especially the African mosquitoes are very small. Here you probably have big ones, right? I grew up in Minnesota, the North Woods of America. They were huge. And they would sit there and suck up so much blood. And I used to watch them, they could hardly fly afterwards. And But if they have malaria, the malaria is like, who knows, nobody knows what it is. And they can't find anything to stop it, or they can cure it, but you know, they can't prevent it. They've been spending millions of dollars. But it can knock out an elephant, and you know, tiny little things. So small things count. Don't, like, that's what they say, don't think your small effort, you know, if you're trying to serve Krishna, sometimes we think, well, I can't do very good anyway, or I can't do very much, so better I don't do anything. You know, everything counts. You don't know what one little thing you do, what big result it's going to have. You know, the smallest little thing can start an avalanche. You know, everything starts small, you know, and it grows. Prabhupada started very small. Everybody's probably a little familiar with our Guru Maharaj's mission. You know, he's dedicated. We pray Namaste Gauravani. He's giving the message of Lord Chaitanya, which is chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and dance. And, you know, whoever you go and whoever you meet, tell them about Krishna, tell them something. Show them the Bhagavad Gita, you know. Tell them you really like the Bhagavad Gita. Tell them you like Krishna food. Go to the temple and take Krishna food. You don't have to know very much. Sometimes we think we can't preach, or somebody will tell you, you have to be a big scholar. No, actually that can be an impediment, because people can't follow. In the very beginning in Los Angeles, our Guru Maharaj Prabhupada, he was sitting with a few devotees, like 5 or 6 devotees who had started a temple in Los Angeles. They were living in some garage or something. And it was the birthday of his guru, and he was reading letters he was getting from the devotees as an offering. Then he asked devotees one by one, you know, are you happy? Do you like you like chanting? And they all said yes. And they were very happy. And they were all very new devotees, nobody more than 1 year. And he said, so I had one thing, you just tell everybody, I'm happy, I like this. You don't have to know anything. He said, you know, you don't have to be a scholar, you don't have to know anything, just tell people, I really like this chanting, I really like this Bhagavad Gita. And it's very powerful. Nobody can argue with you. If I say this is the most ancient book and this is pure knowledge, everybody says that, why should I believe you, blah, blah. But if you say, I really like this, very few people would say you're just lying, you just say that, you don't really like it. You know? Some people will say that. Now in America, when we approach people, most people will say, is it religion? And if you say yes, they run away. And if you say anything, but no, it's spiritual. I want spiritual but not religious, whatever that means. And a lot of them are sincere. They do want spiritual, but they have no idea what is spiritual. The Bhagavad Gita is 100% spiritual. Chanting Hare Krishna is 100% spiritual. And we can enter into it by, this is called Sadhu Sangha, coming together. Krishna is very kindly arranged. There's so many of you here. It's really interesting for me, because I go to Japan a lot, and to find more than 10 or 12 Japanese together at a gathering is really big. Even 10 or 12. They come very sincere, but not very many. It's difficult for them. We go to China, then we have a huge gathering. Oh, in China, huge numbers come. They're different. People think they're the same, but they're not, complete opposite. But everywhere in the world, they chant. Somebody takes it up. somebody goes out and tells other people, please chant. Or they just chant and let everybody hear it. This is, we're trying to save the world by sound vibration. There's so much pollution, air pollution, but the main thing is sound pollution. And nowadays with all the, subtle sounds, all the Wi-Fis and all the televisions and radios and, internet, like zapping everywhere we go. Anywhere I sit in an apartment, if I turn on the Wi-Fi, I get like 20 or 30 signals. I don't know where they're coming from. I can't connect to any of them, but they're all somehow there, I heard somebody took a picture, somehow they could take a picture of all the stuff in the room, and there's just like so many lines everywhere, So we need to purify that. But the holy name of Krishna can purify so much, because Krishna is the source of everything. He's unlimited. So the more we chant, our own mind becomes purified, and the whole atmosphere around us becomes purified. The whole world to become purified, even the whole universe. So Lord Chaitanya is, doing that. So he traveled 6 years in South India, spread it all over, and he went to Vrindavan, back and forth, again walking, and he met those, Mayavadi sannyasis, converted all of them, and it's very interesting. He had preached to one very big scholar, the biggest Mayavadi scholar in the world at the time. And he was, he couldn't believe Krishna is the supreme God. He didn't have an idea of that. And especially couldn't believe that Lord Chaitanya was. Because his studies showed there's no avatar, there's no incarnation in this age. So they were discussing philosophy, and this man asked him, explain one particular verse, famous verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam called the Atmarama verse. And it's saying how, the holy pastimes of Krishna are so wonderful that even, Mayavadis can change. And Lord Chaitanya said, well, you explain first. And I can't think of anything. So he explained it 9 different ways, which no one else in the world could do. It was far beyond anybody's ability. And then Lord Chaitanya explained it, I don't think, 13 or 16 different ways, 18. And he spoke so brilliantly that this scholar completely changed and said he has to be the Supreme Lord because no one else can talk like that. And he did it in an amazing way. He took every word and he gave all the dictionary meanings. Every word in a dictionary has many meanings, especially in Sanskrit. And then he explained based on all the different meanings, combining them all in different ways, and just bewildered him completely. So that went on. Then many, many years later, when he was in that city that I was talking about with all these scholars, he was preaching to a devotee, and it was Sanatana Goswami, who was also a big, big scholar, but he was a devotee, and he very, very learned, and he was teaching him, because he had recruited him to be he was such a great person that the Muslim king had forcibly recruited him into his service in the government. And then Lord Chaitanya went and recruited him to lead his movement and leave the king and lead his movement and write books and spread his teachings all over the world, which he did, and made many, many disciples. And so at the end he told him, I heard that you had spoken so wonderfully about this verse, and I wanted to hear what you said. So Lord Chaitanya said, well, I don't really remember. You know, I was just talking. And we're two crazy people, we're just talking philosophy. And I don't remember, but I'll see what I can say, maybe because, you know, if you have a very interested audience of any topic, you know, it's much easier to speak. So Lord Chaitanya started speaking in the same way, but he went on at 61 different ways. And the main disciple of this main Mayavadi scholar who was appreciating Lord Chaitanya, he happened to hear that. And so he was like totally blown out. And he went and told everybody that he just explained this, because these were great scholars and they just never heard of anything like it. So they came and begged him to please, the next day again, repeat it all. So he did, somehow or other. And then at that time, you know, he said, chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And the whole city, this whole city of people who had totally rejected him and laughed at him and called him a babuka fool and just singing and dancing, everybody was coming to the temple and singing and dancing. And then he happily left. So this is how it's still spreading. Prabhupada did it in New York, started with just a few people chanting in the park. When he first started, he sat down in the grass, and the police came and said, no, you can't sit on the grass. So he moved over to the pavement. It was under a particular tree. That tree now has a sign, you know, Hare Krishna tree, famous tree. And I met a tour guide from New York. I met him a couple of times. He said he always takes his tour around past that tree and tells them this is where the Hare Krishna started. And somehow from there it spread all over the world. And devotees from this little group in New York went to San Francisco, and in San Francisco that was a time when there were 100,000 hippies or something living in a small area, and many, many joined Hare Krishna. And then from there they went Los Angeles, and they went around America, many different places, and they went to Europe, Germany. I think Germany might have gone from New York, but and the Germans took it up very quickly. England took it up very quickly. Australia, especially those places, so quickly. So many joined and started chanting, and Hare Krishna became very famous all over the world. In fact, it became more famous in America when it hit London. That's when it got on the front page of the New York Times. Hare Krishna rocks London, because the Beatles were chanting. And then they worked for 1 year. They got George Harrison, and he got interested. And then he finally came out with so many songs, with Hare Krishna. Amazingly, at that time in the rock and roll, and sex, drugs, and rock and roll, all these songs that were based on Bhagavad Gita and chanting the holy name of God became #1 in the world for a long time. Especially My Sweet Lord, it's very personal. I want to be with you. I want to talk to you, walk with you. Nobody could believe it, because even the mainstream Christians were not thinking of God as a person anymore. They're thinking as whatever they're thinking, some kind of indescribable. They were so much influenced by this impersonalist teaching. So the holy name is what's doing it, and that's why we're chanting here, and we're requesting everybody to join us all the time. And we're very happy that these young people are becoming so enthusiastic about chanting and making beautiful music. I would kind of like to be there tonight, but they scheduled something else, because it starts very late, this music thing. But it's just a very wonderful thing, and it's just, everybody's tradition, but I know we had a interfaith meeting in America a few years ago. They have every year, but one year the topic was the name of God, the holy name. And these other religions, they all had, become fascinated to dig into their tradition and find out how much the name of God was the essential thing. They had forgotten that. They become like kind of dried up or ritualistic. And we want to be careful about that. The main ritual is chanting the holy name of the Lord. Joyful. Make a joyful noise unto the Lord, I think. We used to hear that in the Bible, but we didn't really understand it. Sometimes we see that in America, the Afro-American churches, they really dance and chant. And they really glorify God. And they really like it when they hear Hare Krishna also. In Africa, we go by some churches and they're playing drums and organs and everybody's jumping and dancing for hours, And that's a natural tradition of every religion. Muslims also have beautiful music. We had a program in Indonesia, and the Muslim music, and it was whatever their religious music, was so beautiful. The singing is really like charming. And the Christians also, the Buddhists, everybody had their music, We had a very simple song. People ask us sometimes, don't you have any other songs? I told one man, yeah, we have a really lot of songs, but this is the best one. So we just sing this one. And he said, okay, that's a good idea. And we get many people in New York. We sit in the park and chant for 4 hours every day. And many people are watching. We try to approach them. I just want to hear the music. Leave me alone, Okay, good. Keep listening. You can join, and sit down. And we get children to join. And, years ago when I first chanted in the street, children always were attracted and the parents would pull them away. And then many years now, the parents tell the children, go close and give them donations. So it charms music charms everybody. And spiritual music is, what music is really meant for. Everything is meant to glorify the Supreme Lord and to glorify the spiritual world, the kingdom of God. So if you please read Bhagavad Gita, read our books, any of them, they describe what is the kingdom of God, what is the soul, what is our real nature. We're not just not the body. We're not nothingness. We're not, all one. We're not all just Nero. We're all individual souls who have an individual loving relationship with Krishna, the Supreme Lord, and it's in service. We're always servants in this world. Everybody's a servant of somebody. Even in Japan, the traditional emperor, his position was a servant of everybody. There's one famous business writer. He wrote these books, the 1 minute everything. You have those in German? The 1 minute manager, the 1 minute parent, the 1 minute teacher, the 1 minute salesman. And someone asked him, how do you know who's qualified to be the CEO of a big corporation? He said, when someone realizes that they are the servant of every employee in the entire corporation, and they can be the CEO. Not that they think I'm the best, I'm the master, I know more than everybody. When he thinks my duty is to serve everybody and help everybody else to do their work. So that's our business. We're all servants of Krishna. Servant of Krishna means servant of everybody, because Krishna is in everyone's heart. So thank you all for coming and tolerating my talking. It's number 12 now, so If anybody wants to comment or ask a question, we'll take a couple minutes. And then I don't know what's next in line. Yes, sir.
My question is, in the Gita, Bhagavad Gita, there's also Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and today we see a lot of people doing also Ashtanga Yoga, different kinds of yoga. What is the supremacy of Bhakti Yoga? So what is, maybe you can...
Well, the first 6 chapters are basically karma yoga, but bhakti is always there, right? You read? Bhakti is always mentioned, but it's not pushed ahead like the only way. So, because Krishna is easing us into it. Prabhupada said that if Krishna would have said right away, surrender to me right in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, nobody would read it. So he put it at the end. But starting from chapter 7, you know, he gave so much. So I was going to look it up this morning, but I didn't have the book. But chapter 6 is, I can't remember the title, but the last verse of chapter 6 says, Yoginam api sarvesham madgatenan tarataram sarvan bhajate yo mam samyukta mato mataha. So, of all yogis, also all types of, abiding in me, always thinking of me, within himself, in full faith, renders transcendental service, one who to me, he, by me, is considered the greatest. So Krishna is saying me a lot. Previously he didn't say me. He'd say the Supreme Lord, the ultimate, things like that, and kind of impersonal words. And all of a sudden he starts saying me. And we read this morning, this first verse, or last night, chapter 7, in one verse 3 times he says me, but sometimes much more. So it says, of all yogis, the one who with great faith, who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself and renders transcendental service to me. He is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. So that's, where it starts. Krishna makes very strong statements like that. So again and again, especially in the chapter 7 through chapter 12, he talks about himself and many, many aspects of himself, how he pervades everything, how he's everywhere, he's inwhere. Someone's trying to worship anybody else, but it's really Krishna. And then the chapter 12 is all just called Bhakti Yoga. Then again, he gets philosophical at the end, Jnana Yoga. But at the end, again and again, surrender to me and give up everything. Give up all the other kinds of yoga, all the dharmas, all the religious rituals and everything. You don't need that. Just chant the holy name, basically. So Lord Chaitanya started with that. Chant the holy name. Hare Nama, Hare Nama. Everybody? Okay, let's get it together. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. Kalona Steva Nasteva Nasteva Gatiranyata. Okay, that help? So if you read the whole Bhagavad Gita, he teaches everything because it's all part of bhakti. Bhakti isn't, exclusive of knowledge or anything. Like people think, oh, bhakti, we get Hindus sometimes. You've heard that? That's for old women and babies, I heard that from my grandmother, we heard the Krishna, we heard about Krishna's pastimes, but no, it's ultimate. Other people learn from their, and they understand. There are lifetime Vaishnavas, but so that's the real point of Bhagavad Gita is surrender to me. And it comes up a lot towards the end. Me, you find it. How many, it's quite amazing how many times Krishna says, me means me, mam means mine, aham means I. If you count how many times that's in the Bhagavad Gita. And the Mayavadis say it's not Krishna, something else. He didn't mean that. No, he meant what he said. Give it to me. If I say, give me the glass of water, and you say, well, I thought you meant to give it to somebody else that we can't see, an invisible person, they pour it on the ground. You know, doesn't make any sense, but that's what they're and people like that, because if there's no Supreme Lord, no person, then you're free to do whatever you want. You just make up your own life, you know, it's crazy. All right, so who's in charge here? What's the next thing? Huh? Who knows? Artie?
Yeah.
All right away? Probably.
Are we ready for Gaurang? Yeah. Okay.
Everything's there, been there all along. They made an offering. Okay, so thank you very much. We have more kirtan. We want everyone to dance, right? Dancing with your hands in the air. It's stated that when devotees dance, their feet purify the earth. And when they raise their hands, it purifies the heavenly planets. It's what to speak of purifying our own heart and consciousness, opening up to let the pollution out and let the nectar come in. So, you know, it's good exercise. So many exercise people we do, but if we dance and chant every day, 30 minutes or more, everybody will be healthy and strong. Okay, so Danke. Still say that? Huh? Maybe next life I'll speak German or Japanese or Russian or Chinese, Hebrew. There's a lot in Africa. There's so many languages. Nobody knows. But the educated people, unfortunately, speak English, thanks to the British. So they arranged to make it possible for Prabhupada to spread Krishna consciousness everywhere, because he always finds somebody who could speak English and translate, and somebody could read the books and translate them. So there's all kinds of arrangements been made for many, many years, and now it's spreading like faster and faster. And we just want to grab on to and be very serious. And you don't have to give up, you know, anything except sinful activities, and can live a perfect life. And by offering your work to Krishna, you can attain perfection. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gauranga. 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 Yeah, that means the golden body. It's another name of Lord Chaitanya. And it's the same as chanting Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. And so we'll have Artik now. Okay? So we ask everyone to stand up and dance and chant, hands in the air. So you get a good appetite, because I think they made a feast.